Hi, I'm going to be sharing thoughts on what a case of coronavirus is. It's something you'd think would be fairly simple. It's you either have it and are a case, or do not and are not a case. In reality, it tends to be a slightly more complicated process. Depending on which health department website you're on, they may have very different definitions of case. The first thing to keep in mind is that at the moment there are three different tests that are used to detect the virus. Two of them are used to diagnose cases of the virus. Those are molecular tests, PCR tests, which have been used since the beginning to diagnose confirmed cases. And more recently, there are antigen tests, which look for the presence of a specific viral antigen in your serum to determine whether or not you have an active infection. The third type of test are antibody tests, which test for presence of an antibody. Showing evidence of a historic contact with the virus. We in our data are including the cumulative case and death totals and measuring them to see how they spread as a function of time. Because of that, we do not include antibody test results, since using them does not show how the virus is spreading as a function of time, because by the time someone tests positive for an antibody test, they might have been in contact with the virus yesterday, or they might have been in contact with the virus 7 months ago. It doesn't give us a picture of how the virus is spreading. It's useful in other ways. Antigen and PCR tests we do include in our data because they test active infections, which do give us a decent picture of how the virus is spreading as a function of time. The other thing to keep in mind is that the location of a case may vary. Health departments may include cases in counties based on where the person's primary residence is, so where they are most likely to have been living when they were infected with the virus. Or they may base that on where they are physically located. So if we mix those two definitions, where someone lives and where they are physically being treated, we would end up double counting some cases, because some cases will be treated in a county that is different than where they're living, but they would be counted in both of those counties' numbers if they're defining cases in a different way. And all that is to say, whenever we are using a source, and especially when we're changing a source, we need to do it deliberately, and we need to take into consideration that they are defining cases in different ways. So before changing the source, that is something you always need to talk to your team about and talk to me about, so that we can look into it, and so that we can ensure everyone is on the same page. If you want to read a little bit more about this and some reasons why health departments, especially county and state health departments, will report different numbers, this is in the COVID-19 Project Handbook.